When I started Behind the Iceberg, I thought I was looking for the stories behind the music, the moments people don't always see, the stories, the journeys behind the songs, the people behind the performances, because when we experience music, we usually see the final moment, the finished song, the performers on stage, the voice that reaches us. But every artist has a story that exists before that moment. A story filled with choices, challenges, creativity, and experiences that shaped who they are. And after creating this first season, I realized something. This was never just about the music. It was about everything underneath. Classical crossover looks beautiful on the surface, but there's always more beneath. Welcome to Behind the Iceberg. The idea behind the iceberg has always been simple. An iceberg shows us one thing above the surface, but beneath it is an entire world that we don't immediately see. Music works the same way. We hear the final song, we see the performance, but underneath that is a story of how it comes to life. The inspiration, the hard work, the moments of uncertainty, the people who supported the journey, the experiences that gave those lyrics, melodies, meaning. And that's where the most interesting stories often begin. Not with what we already know, but what we haven't discovered yet. Throughout this first season, every conversation taught me something different. Not just about music, not about creativity, courage, and the people behind the performances we remember. I learned that an interview is not just about asking questions, it's about listening. And it's about giving someone the space to share the parts of their story that might often otherwise remain unseen. Because behind every artist, there's more than a career. There are memories. There are turning points. There are moments that changed everything. And sometimes the most meaningful answers come from the questions that allow someone to open up and share those moments. When this journey began, I was simply curious. I wanted to understand what happened beneath the surface. I wanted to know more about the stories behind the songs I loved. But somewhere along the way, curiosity became connection. And because when someone trusts you with their story, that changes the conversation. No matter what, you are no longer just watching from the outside. You become part of the process of sharing the story with others. And that has been one of the biggest lessons from this first season. Sometimes asking a question is not just about finding an answer. Sometimes it's about creating a moment. But every story has another layer. And that's what makes this journey so exciting. Because the deeper you go beneath the surface, the more you realize there is always something new waiting to be discovered. Season 1 was about finding my place in the story. It was about exploring the layers behind the music and learning from the people who created it. But in Season 2 is about what happens when you step further into those layers and when you move beyond simply observing and start becoming part of the conversation. Because the stories behind the music are not finished. There's still more questions to ask, more perspectives to discover, more connections to make. Thank you for joining me for the first season of Behind the Iceberg. I thank you for watching, listening, and being part of this journey, because behind every song, behind every artist, behind every story, there is always something more to be discovered. And I can't wait to share, I can't wait to explore those layers with you. This is Behind the Iceberg with Amy Sawyer, and this story is just beginning. Thanks for joining me behind the iceberg. I'm Amy Sawyer. What hidden layer surprised you the most today? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more. And I'll see you next time.